I have asked countless questions in my life, but definitely not as many as I've received. Like everyone, I've been asked questions by my parents, my teachers, and my friends, but besides them, I've probably received 100 times more questions from people I hardly know. There's nothing too complicated in this. It's just because of the simple fact that I have a double. I'm an identical twin, and my sister and I, well, we look pretty identical. And it's in these people's nature to be curious, to ask questions. So they ask away, and these questions have been embedded into my daily routine that it feels so weird if I don't hear at least 3. Which one are you again? How do you tell you and your sister apart? Wait, I'm so sorry. Did I offend you? Does it get annoying when people mix you up? If I pinch your sister, will you be in pain? This one is mostly from ages 8 and below, but you'd be surprised. However, in the past 16 years of my life, there's only one question that baffled me so much it took me 2 minutes to comprehend it, and then I proceeded to stare for a solid minute after. This was the question. Do you ever talk to yourself accidentally thinking you're talking to your sister? All of these questions stem from one thing: curiosity. It's rare to have someone who looks exactly like you, thinks like you, and acts like you, and people get curious. They want to know more. In fact, 1 in 50 births are identical twins. That means identical twins make up 2% of the world's population. Only 2%. That's why I'm here today. An ordinary girl who just so happens to be part of that 2%, spilling my life as an identical twin to you. What is it like being an identical twin? This is definitely the most prevalent of all questions, and if I had to answer this in a short and simple way, I'd tell you that I got myself a deal, and here's why. Of course, there are the obvious upsides to being an identical twin, which doesn't require me to explain, such as the ability to switch places as seen in iconic movies, like The Parent Trap or Switching Goals. But what I can tell you guys about is a time where me and my twin attempted it and failed horribly. We were in year 6 and we decided we wanted to prank our Arabic teachers, as we were certain neither of them had a clue that either of us had a twin. So I sat in her class and she sat in mine. However, I'm not quite sure what was going through our minds, because she was in the advanced level and I was in the beginner's level, and yes, that is possible. And maybe you've guessed it by now, but things didn't go too well for me sitting in an advanced class armed with my so-called knowledge on the subject. You can probably imagine how it went when my teacher was surprised to see me compose proper and sensible sentences, and my sister's teacher shocked to hear her articulate response to the question, "What do you do in your free time?" In my defense, I swear it sounded like she wanted to know my name. So she repeated herself, thinking I might have misheard her, but I knew I messed up. So the second time, I told her my age. Needless to say, the class burst out laughing, immediately yelling that she'd been pranked. It feels weird to think of how it must have been like for all of you guys growing up without having a best friend who went to school with you and lived with you. For us, it was a 24/7 playdate, pulling all the dining chairs into a line and pretending we were on a bus or a train or a spaceship, whatever we fancied that day. Or changing our room into a horror house and then taking turns scaring the daylights out of each other, and our poor mother in the process. Or playing together outside and seeing who could shove the most snow down the other's back. And for our parents, well, it was a burden off of their backs, because they never had to worry if we would get lonely, because they knew that as long as we were together, we would always have each other's backs. It's hard to put into words the sheer magic of being identical twins. It's like there's this invisible golden thread that connects us, prompting us to say the same things and think the same things. It scares me sometimes how we can both say the same dumb joke at the same time, or write extremely similar things for our classes and have the teacher ask us if we worked on the assignment together. Or look at each other at the same time during a movie or a TV show, because I know exactly what she's thinking, because it's the exact same as what I'm thinking. My face looking back at me is my earliest memory, except it wasn't my face in 16 years together, and I feel like I know her better than I know myself sometimes. Her every facial expression has been embedded into my memory, just like the questions have. However, it's not all fun and games. Don't get me wrong, being an identical twin is my life's biggest blessing, but sometimes it feels like it's my biggest curse too. I move countries every 3 years, which means every 3 years I need to start my somewhat pre-rehearsed introduction speech all over again. It goes a little like this. Hi, my name is Avanti, and I have an identical twin, so if you see someone who looks exactly like me, but they don't wave back or they don't say hi, the chances are it's my twin and she has no idea who you are. It happened at my current school too, just a few months ago. I was absent one day from school, and my psychology teacher asked my sister why she ditched his class. She stared back puzzled because she had no clue who he was, and then he got confused because she was confused, but then she automatically knew that it must have been one of my teachers. It's kind of become instinct now to turn around whenever someone says a DT. And people ask me all the time, well, if you're not a DT, then why did you turn around? And I tell them, I wish it was as simple as only having to respond to my name, but I've annoyed a lot of people in the past because they yelled DT when they were actually looking for me. People mix us up all the time, and as a kid, I used to find that funny, and then I would always love correcting them, but now, not so much. I have taken economics from the start of year 12. A DT swapped out of business and into my class about 2 weeks later. It took her 1 second being in the class for my teacher to start confusing her with me, even though I was sitting in the same place I'd always been in. And now it's a constant internal battle as to why people can't remember me for me and not have to attach my sister's name to anything that I do. I'll be having a conversation with someone and they go, remember that time when you did this, this, and this? And I tell them, oh, no, that must have been a DT. And they're like, oh, same thing anyways, right? No, it's not the same thing, because that shows me it doesn't matter what I do or what I don't do, what I say or what I don't say, you will never be able to distinguish the two of us separately. And as much as a pain is this to me, I know it's equally as hard for my sister. But that's the minuscule price we pay for always having someone around, having someone to talk to, rant to, gossip with, watch shows and movies with, cook with, bake with, study with, revise with, do chores with, and the list goes on. And it's incredible how we found a balance because we both have our own friends and our own separate things going on. But at the end of the day, I know that when I go back home, I'll have my double. And in the grand scheme of things, despite the small questions, mixing up, the annoyances that I feel throughout the day, I know that I truly did bag myself a deal. So my time is coming to an end, but before I go, I do hope I've told you guys something new today. So the next time, in the future, when you do see an identical twin, you know a little bit more about them without even having to ask them any questions. Thank you.